Now I will show you how to do a simple maze program using Blockly and the joint function or the robotic arm. What I've done to save battery, because until I get things set up here, we don't need to have this on. I've turned the unit off to conserve battery. I've got the adapter right here that's going to snap onto the top of the arm. I also have my maze right here, my maze plate. And then I have a BB, which is sitting right here, ready to go. What I would advise you to do is if your students are old enough, I would have them put the plate on after this adapter has been put on the robotic arm. And this is why. In the maze, angles are going to be important because you'll be rotating on the X and the Y axis, okay? So to start with, you want to try to get it as level as possible. When you get it as level as possible, then take this plate and snap it on. If you try to lock this plate in before you get on here, it's going to be hard because you're going to be off. And you need to be able to rotate accurately on an angle. So what I do then is I try to line this up the best that I can so to make sure everything is square and true. And so I try to wiggle it on there. And there it is. It grabbed. And give it just a little tug. Now notice how I'm doing this, but place it in my hands. I'm not jamming it down from the top here, putting all the stress on this area right here. I'm cupping my fingers under this top unit right here where this servo is, and I'm gently pressing things in place here. That gives you a firm grip. Now we're ready to go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to switch to Blockly now, and I'm going to show you how to start programming this in Blockly. Okay, so the first program that we're going to write for our Fable robot arm would be a simple maze program. This is a great way to start out with some of the older students, just because it takes you through a step-by-step thought process on how to get that BB through the maze. Now, a lot of people overthink this. All that you really need to do is program moves on 45-degree angles, either plus and minus. That's really it. Oh, and also you need to put in something that students always forget. You need to program in breaks or pauses for the ball to actually roll, because the ball doesn't get from point A to point B instantaneously. So we'll show you that here in a second. I'm going to take a look at my arm that I have set up right here. If you take a look at the arm when it's in front of you, you'll note that on the servos, they're marked X and Y, like we said. But there's also an additional marking up in the top right-hand corner of the X and Y marking. There is a plus and a negative, and that's going to be needed for this. You will only need to program the joint command right here, and then in the loop command, a wait command. These are the only two things that you'll have to use, okay? Now, when I said the X and the Y axis had a positive and a negative, a plus and a minus on it, this is the way you program. See this X equals angle right here, and here is your negative and plus, positive, okay? And Y has the same thing right here. Now, you can click and you can use that like the scale here, but I just kind of like to type it in. It also takes a hand entry. That's a lot more simple in my book right here. So what I do is I tell the kids, you need to visualize your moves right here. And you also need to take a look at your X and Y axis. For instance, in our maze, we need our first move to be on the Y axis, and we need it to be negative. Okay, so we're going to take this X axis, we're going to put it back to 0, because we're not going to move that one. This is going to be a negative, like I said, and you only really need to use 45 degrees on here. That's it. That's what makes this pretty cool, okay? So we're going to do a negative 45-degree angle move, and we're going to do a wait. And a good wait time is always about 2 seconds, just for the ball to roll and settle. Sometimes it'll, depending on how fast it's going, it might continue rolling. So just wait for 2 seconds. And then once it's in that corner, at least it should be in the first corner, then depending on how you have everything true and level on your maze, then we're going to need an X axis move to the positive, and that's going to be a 45 after this. So you can either right click on this and duplicate. That's the easiest way to do it if you're working on a PC, or you can also go into the most used too. And then, so like I said before, we're going to need an X, and we're going to need a positive 45 movement, followed with a wait. And that should bring us to our second corner. Then after that, we're going to need a Y positive movement. So duplicate this, get that X back to 0, and we're going to do a Y positive 45. So we'll just get that negative sign out of there. A Y positive, and then we're going to wait. Okay, so let's see where that takes us right now. We're going to play this. Everything's paired up here. Good. Let's see where it takes us. Okay, so it hit the after this last movement, and it does this because there's a long kind of place for the ball to roll there. It took us to the far right hand corner, and you're going to see that in the video right now.